So this one is a bit of a complicated one. It's a bit of a mess because this thing here is not factorable. This numerator here. The denominator is actually q squared minus 9. If I factor out the 24, this one is q minus 3, and I factor out a 4 here, I get q plus 3. And recognizing that this is the difference of squares, that leads me to 24 q minus 3 times q plus 3. So let's just rewrite that all in factored form. I have a q and a 3q minus 3. And here I have a 4 and a q plus 3. And on the other side, I have this nasty numerator and a 24 q minus 3 q plus 3. And now I'm going to clear these fractions by multiplying everything by the lowest common denominator, which is 24 q minus 3 times q plus 3. Now it would be really helpful if in the process you could do a little bit in your head instead of writing it all out. If you notice that if I multiply this common denominator by the right hand side of the equation, all of it will cancel. And that leaves me with 7q squared plus 6q plus 63 on the right hand side. If I multiply it to this fraction, the 4 is going to cancel into the 24 6 times, and I'll have 6 times 3, which is 18. And the q plus 3 will cancel, and the q minus 3 stays there. Now the last one, if I multiply these 3 together, the 3 will go into the 24 8 times. So that'll leave me with 8q, shouldn't have had that squared there, 8q times q plus 3, because the q minus 3's cancel. Now that's looking much better. I'm going to multiply this into the bracket. And the next one as well. And just rewrite that same old trinomial on the right hand side. Now what I notice here is that I have some like terms. So I have 8q squared plus 6q plus 54 equals 7q squared plus 6q plus 63. And I have a 6q on both sides, which means they cancel. And I'm going to bring the 7q squared by subtracting it. So that leaves me with 1q squared. And subtract 63 means I have minus 9 equals 0. So I can solve that in two different ways. I can do it by factoring, and then realizing that x equals 3 or x equals negative 3. But it's always important to check to see if your answers work. If I plug in the 3 into here, or even more into the original, I did divide by 0, so that doesn't work. And the same thing happens for negative 3. So that is why there is no solution.